Did I just hear you say, crumbs, I wish there were a free video on the elements of operant conditioning? Well, even if you didn't say that, you're in luck, because now we're going to look at the elements of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is essentially based on the principles of reinforcement and punishment, and things being either positive or negative. In this sense, reinforcement is consequences that strengthens the likelihood of a behavior being repeated, whilst punishment is a consequence that weakens the likelihood of behavior being repeated. And in this sense, if something is positive, it means that a stimulus is being presented, whilst something being negative means that a stimulus is taken away. So there are 4 different elements of operant conditioning. In positive reinforcement, a pleasant stimulus is provided, which makes a behavior more likely to be repeated. For example, if a student is given a chocolate bar every time they arrive to class early, then they are more likely to arrive at class early in the future. Negative reinforcement also makes a behavior more likely to be repeated, but the negative part of its name suggests that an unpleasant stimulus is being taken away. When you eat extremely spicy food, you might have some yogurt afterwards to soothe the burning in your mouth. This takes away the unpleasant stimulus of your mouth burning, which makes it more likely that you will have yogurt after spicy food again in the future. Then we have punishment, which makes behavior less likely to be repeated in the future. In positive punishment, an unpleasant stimulus is provided. For example, you might be given detention for having your shirt untucked, making it less likely that you will have your shirt untucked in the future. Comparatively, negative punishment, also known as response cost, sees a pleasant stimulus being taken away in order to make a behavior less likely in the future. So if you really like sport but are banned from playing sport after being rude to your parents, a pleasant stimulus is taken away from you. Let's look at an exam question now. This fairly tricky question is from the 2014 VCAR exam. The question explains that Dan moved to Australia when he was 5 and was teased for his English accent. We need to answer which of the 4 elements of operant conditioning quickly taught Dan to speak with an Australian accent. Let's first consider whether the element of operant conditioning displayed will be positive or negative. Remember, positive suggests that a stimulus is provided, whereas negative means that a stimulus was taken away. In this case, Dan wants to take away the other boy's teasing. This means that the element will either be negative reinforcement or negative punishment, response cost. We can rule out options B and D. The next thing to consider is whether Dan's actions were more likely to be repeated in the future or less likely to be repeated in the future. The question asks specifically about Dan using an Australian accent. By doing this, the bullying about his accent is likely to stop, meaning that he would be more likely to repeat the action in the future. This suggests the behaviour is being reinforced. As such, the correct response to this question is option A, negative reinforcement. A recap of the elements of operant conditionings can be found below this video. Next up, we're looking at the schedules of reinforcement. Keep working hard and have a psychedelic day.